Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and welcome to a special weekend of reviews, and that has to do with Christmas in July. So, that's right, I've teased this, and you guys had seen this. For me, doing a special batch of reviews that has to do with Christmas in July, with me reviewing a batch of Disney TV animated episodes that are Christmassy. So, yeah, you know the drill. So, that's right. The first of the six that I'm reviewing, well, you know what it is. You read the title. I'm wearing the shirt. You saw the thumbnail. So, yes, that's right. The first of the 6 Disney TV animated episodes that are Christmassy is one of TaleSpin, yes, and that being episode 43 of season 1, A Jolly Molly Christmas. Yeah, so TaleSpin's very own Christmas episode, and as I recall, yeah, this is the only Christmas episode to come from TaleSpin. But yeah, well, you know, first off, TaleSpin itself, well, of course, yeah, it's definitely a Disney animated icon on television in the 90s, a part of the Disney afternoon lineup. And I remember, yeah, the very first time I had ever watched this, along with others from, say, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, which I did review before, and, you know, of course, from Darkwing, a little bit of Darkwing Duck, DuckTales, Goof Troop, and a few others. Yeah, because at that time, when it was still called Toon Disney, they started to re-air episodes of those Disney afternoon shows, and I remember watching a good chunk of them, and of course, most prominently, one of them being TaleSpin. I don't seem to recall this one that I'm reviewing. Yeah, it wasn't one of those episodes that I remember seeing and watching on TV. But when I got, say, a DVD copy of TaleSpin, it did have this episode. So as I recall, yeah, that was the very first time I watched this episode. And the episode itself, well, it's nice to see because, you know, the TaleSpin had its very own Christmas episode, and with what it centers on, and Molly being the main focus, Rebecca's daughter, and this Christmas wish that she wishes for, not for herself, but for her mommy, yeah. And with what else goes on in this episode, like, yeah, Baloo and Kit, they're determined to make Molly's Christmas wish to come true, and, you know, trying to keep that Christmas spirit alive for Molly, because, you know, for her to believe that Santa Claus does exist, and the fact that King Louie, he has to play the role of Santa, and especially to keep Molly occupied while Baloo and Kit, they handle on making snow come to life in Cape Suzette, because it's never snowed in Cape Suzette. And the fact that there's, you know, at one point, you know, we have Don Carnage and his gang of pirates interfere and trying to ruin the Christmas magic with what Baloo and Kit are doing. Just, yeah, you know, overall, with what this Christmas episode from TaleSpin is like, it's really fun, delightful, cute, just, yeah, what more do I have to say? Alright, so, now, as always, for me, read the description / the story. When Baloo learns that all that Molly wants for Christmas is for it to snow, for her mom, he takes Kit and Rebecca on a mission to make Molly's wish come true. Yeah. And like I said, the fact that it had never snowed, and according to Rebecca, it never had snowed in Cape Suzette, but obviously, I think we get the idea earlier that it's more likely going to happen. But yeah, so breaking down the episode and getting into it itself, yeah, because yeah, well, Christmas upon those at Cape Suzette, and of course, most prominently our main characters, yeah, because, you know, Baloo, being voiced by the late Ed Gilbert, Kit, Cloud Kicker, that being his last name, being voiced by young R.J. Williams, and yeah, just to go ahead and name the entire voice cast, well, most of them, Rebecca Cunningham being voiced by Sally Struthers, yeah, I think I'm saying that right, and her daughter Molly being voiced by young Jana Michaels, and Wildcat being voiced by Pat Fraley. So, them getting all set up and ready for Christmas, and, well, Molly writing her letter to Santa on what she's wanting for Christmas, but little does Rebecca and the others know what she's specifically writing for Santa. And with the mentioning of, yeah, as I've said, where it's never snowed in Cape Suzette, and, well, you know, with seeing Baloo, Kit, and Wildcat getting prepared for Christmas, and Rebecca has to get Molly's Christmas present, and there's a moment where Molly's last peppermint, you know, candy cane and such, breaks, and Baloo telling Molly that the peppermint fairy will get her a new peppermint and such, new candy cane and so on. And Molly's not really sure, like, oh, really? Because, you know, and with the mentioning of the Tooth Fairy, and Baloo telling Molly that the peppermint fairy and the Tooth Fairy are cousins. And just, you know, him assuring that the peppermint fairy will show up the next day and, you know, leave a new candy cane / peppermint under her pillow. Yep, just like with the Tooth Fairy leaving a coin under the pillow. So yeah, Baloo making that promise to Molly. He even had to put some string around his finger to remind him to do so, to put a new candy cane peppermint under Molly's pillow. But then, later on, well, there's a moment where Rebecca, you know, she has to go back out again because, well, apparently the store owner did not have the specific present that Rebecca was going to get for Molly. Because it's supposed to be a nutcracker, but instead, it was this vegetable cutter. Who would want that for Christmas? Maybe some, but just, I don't know. And for that matter, like, what about, who would ask for socks and stuff like that? Not me. Anyways. So Rebecca having to go out again and to get Molly's Christmas present, which being a nutcracker, and telling Baloo to keep an eye on Molly, keep her occupied, but also having to load some cargo on the Sea Duck, this soap flake stuff, and yeah, Baloo is very exhausted, but then he starts to fully wake up and realize on his finger, the string he tied, that yeah, he was supposed to put a new candy cane under Molly's pillow, and yeah, he was about to do so, not to make a sound to wake her up, but she does wake up, and yeah, her realizing, because yeah, the whole thing on the Peppermint Fairy not being real, and wondering if the same goes for Santa not being real. But Baloo assuring to Molly that Santa does exist, and what Baloo's going to do is take Molly to the North Pole. Yeah, and Kit, he's just like, no, you're gonna blow this, like, too far, yeah. But no, Baloo, he's not gonna let Molly down, so thus, Baloo, along with Kit and Molly, making their way to the North Pole, and Wildcat being upset at one point because he didn't get to tag along. And also, there's a few times where Wildcat, he's dwelling with this this ball that contains snow, trying to get it to work. Just, yeah, I thought I'd mention that, of course. And where exactly is Baloo and Kit gonna go to the North Pole? Because, of course, yeah, the North Pole is very far away. There's no way that the Sea Duck can make that good of a mileage there. Well, that's because Baloo gets in contact with Louie. And of course, yeah, Louie, Jim Cummings. Yeah, I gotta keep in mind because, like, in TaleSpin, he's not called King Louie, just Louie, yeah. But, yeah, still. So, again, Baloo getting in contact with Louie to basically dress up as Santa Claus, have his entire place be decked as, like, the North Pole, his monkey employees be dressed as elves, because, you know, they need to, like, because, you know, Molly needs to know that Santa exists. Louie's kind of not thrilled, but he goes along with it pretty well. And, like, when they make their way to Louie's, but it's decked up as the North Pole, Louie just dressed up as Santa Claus, wearing shades, being a cool Santa. It just, yeah, and when, like, the moment where, you know, Louie thinks that, you know, it's easy peasy, where he just, you know, just spreads out toys and stuff like that, giving it all to Molly. But Molly being very appreciative of it, but that's not what she's wanting. All that she wants, and having Santa, which being Louie, to read her letter, and one of the monkeys reads it for Louie. Basically, what Molly is wanting, and as I brought up earlier, all she wants is for Cape Suzette to have snow. And that's what Molly wants for her mommy, Rebecca. And yeah, because this puts Baloo in a very tight situation, and a moment where Louie and Baloo are having a talk about what to do next, and Louie's still not thrilled to still be doing this, but, you know, just overall, Baloo convincing Louie to still keep Molly occupied, to still pretend as Santa, and make Molly a promise that it will snow. And while Baloo and Kit have to go back to the docks and collect the soap flakes. So yeah, that's what they have to do. Meanwhile, yes, because then we come to Don Carnage himself. Don Carnage, well, because, yeah, he's disturbed by his fellow pirates, and yeah, because, you know, one of the most prominent members of Carnage's pirate crew is Mad Dog, and Mad Dog being voiced by Charlie Adler. They're upset because they feel that, you know, they're not going to get any presents, and they've not been good this year. And Carnage telling his fellow pirates that being bad is good, and, you know, and telling them that they will go out and make the people give them presents, because, you know, it's the season of giving. So that's what they're gonna do. And it's obvious that, well, they're obviously gonna cross paths with Baloo, duh. And when coming back to Louie and Molly and the other monkeys, because yeah, by this point they've been singing constantly Jingle Bells. That's the only Christmas song they've been singing. There's plenty of other Christmas songs that they could have sang, but yeah. But I mean, it seems like Molly is hanging in there, and yeah, of course not suspecting anything, and still, Louie pretending to be Santa, promising Molly that snow will soon emerge from the sky. And yeah, when coming back to Baloo and Kit, when they make their way back to the docks, well, because, yeah, Rebecca's showing up, and, yeah, wondering where Baloo, Kit, and Molly are, and Wildcat still being there, and Wildcat giving Rebecca the details that Baloo took Molly to the North Pole, and still, him being upset that he didn't get to tag along. But right after he says that, that's when Baloo and Kit show up, and basically, yeah, Baloo explaining that they have to use the soap flakes to make it snow and such. And Kit going into more detail that, you know, Baloo's just trying to make Molly's Christmas wish come true, and explaining to Rebecca that, you know, with what Molly asked for Christmas was something that she wanted to give to her mommy. So yeah, and Rebecca, she's very happy about this and with what Baloo's doing, yeah. But then, a storm is approaching, yeah, bad timing for a storm to show up, yeah, but either way, because, yeah, Wildcat and Rebecca, they help out Baloo and Kit with, you know, making Molly's Christmas wish come true by making it snow, but when they are soon about to make their way back to Louie's, well, yeah, because that's when Don Carnage and his pirates show up to, yeah, get presents and such, and even when, yes, because they overheard on the radio frequency from between Baloo and Louie, because, you know, Santa's secret elf, you know, and, you know, Baloo pretending to be an elf, you know, getting in contact with Louie as Santa, and explaining that, yeah, what's going to be happening, that, you know, Molly's Christmas wish is happening and such, and again, Carnage overhearing this, and thus, yeah, he and his pirate crew members making their way directly where the Sea Duck is, and thus, yeah, the sequence where they all start to fire upon the Sea Duck and attack them and get what they want, you know, the Christmas presents, and yeah, they're unable to outstand them and to try to escape from them, especially on account of the storms. But in the end, Baloo gives what Carnage and his crew want. Yeah, their Christmas presents, by dumping a lot of the soap flakes, out in the sky, and, well, you know, the soap flakes hitting directly at them, and it causes all of their planes to malfunction and crash. Yeah. But aside from Don Carnage, it seemed like, yeah, his pirate crew members got a kick out of what happened. So yeah, but yeah, that's the defeat and demise of Carnage and his pirate crew in this episode. And yeah, and by this point they've run out of all soap flakes. Wildcat thinks that there's one more box left, but yeah, it's empty, so there's no more. And coming back to Louie's, because yeah, early on, some customers showed up, and they were getting very impatient, upset that they were not being let in, because they always spend Christmas time at Louie's, and they were not being let in until, yeah, they broke in, and seeing, like, what was going on, and, just, seeing Louie and the Santa Claus get up, ripping off the Santa beard, and when Molly discovers that, yeah, it's Louie, not Santa, and, all the customers start to laugh, and just, and Louie, just trying to, explain, and just, yeah, and Molly, seeing everybody laugh and stuff like that, just, yeah, all that has happened was a lie, and her getting very upset, snatching the letter she wrote out of Louie's pocket in the Santa coat, and making a run for it, and, yeah, and good on Louie, because Louie straightening his customers, why'd you have to do that, make a child cry and stuff like that, with what he specifically said, good point. And Molly just running through the island, and when she makes her way up to a hilltop where a tree is, and yeah, just crying some more, and she throws the letter, but the wind picking it up, and it actually makes its way on up top, the sky, and where the moon is. It's making its direction to where the moon is. And by this point, Baloo, Rebecca, Kit, and Wildcat, they've all shown up. They're searching for Molly, and, well, at one point, Molly sees something in the nighttime sky, and we don't see what it is. But by the time that Rebecca, Baloo, Kit, and Wildcat, and Louie as well, they find Molly, well, first Rebecca, then Baloo, both of them. They're the first two to see what Molly is looking at. And Molly's telling her mommy that she saw him, and I think we know whom that is. And then, when they see, long behold, for the first time in Cape Suzette history, it starts to snow. Yeah. And a moment, and also a funny moment where Wildcat finally got that ball to work with snow in it. But yeah, but that's nothing in compared to, say, what's actually in the sky. Actual snow. Yeah. It's a very nice and cute and touching moment, and even when Rebecca starts to tear up and just, yeah, Molly's Christmas wish had come true, and yeah, that was a great and sweet way for that episode to round up, just, yeah. Just, yeah. The TaleSpin Christmas episode, A Jolly Molly Christmas, is a very cute, delightful, Christmassy episode to come straight from TaleSpin, and, a Christmas episode to come from one of the Disney afternoon shows. Definitely. Everything about this episode from beginning to end, with its storyline, what goes on with the characters, Molly being the main focus, and with a bit of Don Carnage interfering, and all of those that are trying to keep, Molly's hopes up, and that, Santa is real and stuff like that, but technically, he is real. And thanks to Santa, bringing snow down directly at Cape Suzette. Yeah, with what Molly wrote in that Christmas letter, just overall, everything about Season 1, Episode 43 of TaleSpin, A Jolly Molly Christmas, pretty good. And I'm giving this episode, 8 out of 10 stars. Yes, 8 out of 10 stars for Episode 43 of Season 1 of TaleSpin, A Jolly Molly Christmas. And what about you guys? What did you think of this episode itself from TaleSpin? Is it one of your, favorite episodes of TaleSpin? And, for that matter, being Christmassy, what are your fond memories of watching TaleSpin? And if, you're in the same, position as I am, that, when Toon Disney started to re-show TaleSpin and all the other shows of the Disney afternoon lineup, and what were some of your favorite moments to come from this episode? And, overall, what do you think of this TaleSpin episode itself, A Jolly Molly Christmas, and with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the TaleSpin Christmas episode, episode 43 from season 1, A Jolly Molly Christmas. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, Christmas in July. You know, me reviewing a batch of Disney animated TV episodes that are Christmassy has just begun. So stay tuned later tonight, because the second Disney TV animated episode that's Christmassy that I'll be reviewing, well, let's just say it has to do something with Buzz Lightyear. Is it not obvious? And when I say his name, yeah, I'm sure you know. But yeah, again, stay tuned for that. Part of the special, Christmas in July review weekend, where I review a batch of Disney TV animated episodes that are Christmassy. Yeah. Take care, and peace out.